There comes a moment in the life of every man and woman who desires greatness when they must ask themselves the question, who is the true master of my destiny, the circumstances around me, or the mind within me? It is in this inquiry that all achievement is born. For no man may rise above the level of his thoughts, and no empire of wealth, power, or influence may be constructed on foundations of chaos, weakness, or emotional slavery. The greatest prison ever constructed is not made of iron or stone. It is built in the chambers of one's own mind. And yet, the key to this prison has always been within your reach. That key is discipline. That key is detachment. That key is mastery over thought. The difference between the man who rules his world and the man who is ruled by it lies not in chance, nor in fortune, nor in the favor of men. It lies in the power to govern oneself. If you cannot govern your emotions, they will govern you. If you cannot direct your thoughts, they will drift and scatter until they build for you a life of mediocrity and failure. But if you seize command of your inner world, you will wield an instrument so powerful that all external obstacles bend before it. For every circumstance is but the echo of thought, every success but the offspring of discipline, and every destiny but the reflection of the mind that shapes it. It is therefore my solemn duty to tell you, you must begin each day as the ruler of yourself, not as the servant of impulses, distractions, and the noise of the world. For as the morning begins, so shall the day unfold, and as the day is governed, so shall life itself take its direction. The habits you form in the first hours of morning determine the level of power you will command in the hours that follow. Show me the rituals with which you greet the dawn, and I will show you the measure of your success. Thus, we turn to the 7 morning habits of highly successful people, not as shallow practices, not as routines for mere productivity, but as profound laws by which the disciplined mind conquers the undisciplined and the detached spirit rises above the reactive. These habits are the weapons by which the individual forges mental steel, silences the chaos of emotion, and builds the fortress of self-control from which all greatness emerges. The first of these habits is not one of action, but of command, the habit of definiteness of purpose. For a man who rises each morning without a clear and burning purpose rises already defeated. The world belongs to those who declare to themselves with unwavering clarity, "This is who I am. This is where I go. This is what I will achieve." Without purpose, there is no discipline, for discipline is the servant of vision. Without purpose, there is no detachment, for detachment is the shield of the man who knows his mission. Without purpose, there is no mastery, for mastery demands an aim, a target, a star toward which the ship of thought is steered. Think of the man who rises and allows the clamor of his environment to dictate his day. His emotions are stirred by every message. His attention is captured by every sound. His will is bent by every demand. He is a puppet, not a master. But the man of purpose rises with an oath in his heart, "I am the captain of my soul. I will not be moved by the tide of distractions, for my eyes are fixed upon the horizon of my destiny." This definiteness of purpose must be declared each morning as one sets foot into the battlefield of life. It may be spoken as affirmation, it may be written as creed, it may be silently resolved in the secret chambers of thought, but it must be unshakable. For as the compass directs the navigator through storm and sea, so does purpose guide the mind through temptation and trial. And here is the eternal law. If you do not fix your mind upon a definite purpose, your mind will fix itself upon weakness, worry, or waste. But if you give it a commanding aim, it will marshal every power within you toward its attainment. That is why the most successful men in history, generals of war, builders of empires, creators of industries, have risen each morning not with idle thought, but with a definite plan, an unyielding declaration of intent. You must do likewise. The second habit of the highly successful is the habit of mastering emotional detachment. Imagine the man who rises in the morning and instantly surrenders his peace to the disturbances of the world, the argument left unresolved, the opinions of strangers, the endless rush of news designed to provoke, to agitate, to command his emotions before he commands them himself. Such a man begins the day as a slave, not a sovereign. His energy, his thought, his attention are scattered like dust in the wind, for he has permitted his emotions to seize the throne of his reason. But the individual who cultivates emotional detachment rises as a king in his own kingdom. He does not rush to speak, nor rush to feel, nor rush to act. He stands still in the silence of the morning and declares, "Nothing outside of me shall control the empire within me. I alone will determine the state of my mind." This detachment is not coldness, it is power. It is the ability to see clearly, to act wisely, to choose decisively, because one is not swayed by anger, nor poisoned by envy, nor weakened by fear. He who rules his emotions rules his world. There is a law in nature as certain as gravity. Reaction without thought leads to regret, but response with discipline leads to dominion. If you rise each morning and allow anger to dictate your words, worry to dictate your decisions, or desire to dictate your course, you are not a master but a captive. Yet if you rise and first master your emotional state through silence, reflection, meditation, or prayer, you stand armored, immune to the petty disturbances of life. You are like the mountain unmoved by the storm, the pillar unshaken by the wind. And the world, sensing your composure, begins to bend itself to your calm authority. The third habit is the habit of mental discipline through structured thought. Thought is the builder of destiny. Every invention, every fortune, every empire began first as a thought. But thoughts uncontrolled are like an army without command. They march in chaos, trample each other, and achieve nothing but confusion. The successful individual begins his morning by directing thought as a general directs his forces. He chooses what he will think, and he rejects what weakens him. He applies the principle of autosuggestion, impressing upon his subconscious the images of victory, wealth, influence, and peace. He knows that the mind, like fertile soil, will produce whatever seed is planted within it, whether it be weeds of doubt or fruit of certainty. If you begin your day by allowing worry, distraction, and triviality to occupy your mind, then you have already sown defeat. But if you rise and impress upon your mind words of power, "I am calm, I am focused, I am unshakable, I am destined for greatness," then the subconscious, like a loyal servant, will work throughout the day to fulfill this command. This is the ancient secret of masters of destiny: to plant the seed of victory in the first hour of the day and to guard it against all corruption. The fourth habit is the habit of accurate thinking. Success is never the fruit of delusion, but always the offspring of truth. To indulge in falsehood, to exaggerate one's abilities, to build castles of fantasy without foundation. In reality, these are the errors of the dreamer who never achieves. The man of accurate thinking examines the facts, separates the essential from the trivial, and makes his decisions with clarity. Each morning he reviews his aims and his circumstances without self-deception. He asks himself, what is true? What is false? What is important? What is distraction? He trains his mind to distinguish between facts and opinions, between evidence and assumption, between what builds his purpose and what wastes his energy. And mark this well: emotions are the enemy of accuracy. When anger clouds the mind, judgment falters. When desire blinds the eyes, truth is distorted. But the disciplined thinker, detached from emotion, sees reality as an island. He makes decisions not in the heat of passion, but in the light of reason. And because his foundation is truth, his building cannot fall. The fifth habit is the habit of commanding silence. In a world of noise, chatter, and endless voices, the successful individual knows the priceless value of silence. Each morning he carves out a period where no voice intrudes but the voice of his own mind. In this silence, he gathers strength. In this silence, he listens to the still, small voice of intuition, that higher intelligence, which speaks only to those who are quiet enough to hear it. Through silence, he reclaims his attention from the world and recenters it upon his purpose. And from that, silence emerges clarity, creativity, and calmness which no amount of noise can produce. The sixth habit is the habit of physical discipline. The body is the instrument of the mind, and if the instrument is weak, the music cannot be strong. Each morning, the successful man disciplines his body as he disciplines his thoughts. He trains it through movement, strengthens it through exertion, commands it through habit. For he knows that the undisciplined body produces a sluggish mind, but the disciplined body produces alertness, vigor, and willpower. To rise early, to breathe deeply, to move vigorously, these are not mere health practices, but rituals of sovereignty. He who conquers his body conquers half the battle of the day. The seventh habit, the crown of all the others, is the habit of initiative. For no discipline, no thought, no detachment has value unless it translates into decisive action. Each morning, the successful man does not wait for conditions to be perfect, nor for the world to grant him permission. He takes initiative. He begins with what he has, where he is, and moves boldly toward his purpose. He does not postpone, he does not hesitate, he does not surrender to the weakness of procrastination. He knows that power belongs to those who act, not to those who merely intend. Initiative transforms purpose into progress, thought into reality, discipline into destiny. Thus, the 7 morning habits: definiteness of purpose, emotional detachment, mental discipline, accurate thinking, commanding silence, physical discipline, and initiative are not mere routines, but laws of mastery. They are the iron framework upon which a man builds the temple of success. Practice them each morning, and you will rise above the mass of men who drift. Neglect them, and you will remain among the multitude who wait, hope, and fail. And now I tell you with absolute certainty, your future depends upon what you do with your mornings. Each sunrise is a summons. Each dawn is a challenge. Each daybreak is a question whispered by destiny itself. Will you rule yourself today, or will you be ruled? Answer it with discipline, and you shall have success. Answer it with weakness, and you shall have regret. The choice is ever yours, and the power to choose is the greatest gift life has given you. The first habit, definiteness of purpose. Every soul that has ever risen to greatness has been governed by one law, a burning definiteness of purpose. The man who greets the morning without this definiteness is like a ship without a rudder, drifting wherever the tide of circumstance may carry him. He is tossed by the winds of opinion, carried off by the currents of distraction, lost in the fog of indecision. But the man who rises with a fixed and burning purpose in his heart commands the winds, commands the tides, and pierces the fog with the light of his own vision. Mark this truth well. Success is not an accident, it is a direction. To live without a definite purpose is to invite mediocrity. To live with one is to invite mastery. And definiteness of purpose must be more than a vague desire. It must be a precise, unshakable statement of intent. To say, I wish to be successful is nothing. To say, I will build a business that serves 10 million souls, that generates wealth, and that grants freedom to myself and others is power. To say, I want to be happy is weakness. To say, I will master my mind, conquer my fears, and create joy through the discipline of thought is sovereignty. Each morning, the successful individual renews this oath of purpose. He does not leave it to chance, nor let it fade into the background. He writes it, he recites it, he engraves it upon the walls of his subconscious. He says to himself, this is who I am, this is what I will achieve, this is the reason I rise each day. And the mind, obedient servant of the will, begins to marshal all its forces toward this definite aim. There is an eternal law at work here. The mind, once given a definite purpose, ceases to tolerate contradiction. Like a compass that always points north, it adjusts every thought, every decision, every action until they align with the purpose impressed upon it. But when no definite purpose is present, the mind becomes a compass broken, spinning in every direction, pointing nowhere, guiding no one. Understand this cause and effect. If you neglect to fix a purpose each morning, your mind will spend its energy wandering through trivialities, entertaining doubts, and obeying the commands of others. But if you rise and declare your definite aim, your mind will filter distractions, repel weakness, and harness every power within you toward your chosen destiny. Napoleon once declared that a man without a purpose is a man already defeated. History confirms this. No general ever won a war without a strategy. No builder ever raised a cathedral without a plan. No explorer ever discovered new lands without a map. So too, no man shall rise to power without the definite purpose that guides his thoughts each morning. And know this, purpose is not found, it is created. It does not fall upon a man by fortune, it is forged by the hammer of decision. To say, I do not know my purpose, is to admit one has not yet decided. Purpose is a choice. Choose it boldly. Declare it fearlessly. Live it daily. The second habit, mastering emotional detachment. The mind cannot serve two masters. It cannot be ruled by emotion and by reason at the same time. One must govern, the other must obey. If you permit emotions to reign, they will lead you into folly. Anger will make you speak words you regret. Fear will prevent you from seizing opportunities. Desire will lure you into snares of weakness. But if you govern your emotions with reason, they will serve you. Anger becomes energy directed into action. Fear becomes vigilance, sharpened into wisdom. Desire becomes fuel, harnessed into ambition. Therefore, each morning, the successful individual practices the habit of detachment. He steps back from his emotions as a king steps back from the noise of the crowd. He observes them, but he is not owned by them. He asks himself, does this feeling serve my purpose, or does it hinder it? If it serves, he commands it. If it hinders, he dismisses it. This is mastery. Detachment is not coldness, it is power. The detached man does not cease to feel he chooses when and how he will feel. He does not let insults stir him to rage, but he may call upon righteous anger when justice demands it. He does not let fear paralyze him in silence, but he may call upon caution when danger is near. He does not let desire distract him from his mission, but he may summon passion when it fuels his purpose. Here lies the law of cause and effect. If you react without thought, your life is governed by others. But if you detach, pause, and then respond with purpose, your life is governed by yourself. Each morning is a training ground for this law. Do not check your messages until your mind is firm. Do not engage with the noise of the world until your emotions are under your command. Begin the day as sovereign, not as servant. The masses allow themselves to be ruled by emotional impulse. They are offended at trifles, distracted by noise, seduced by comfort, terrified by shadows. They rise as slaves to feeling. But the masters of destiny rise detached. They know that to govern the world, one must first govern oneself. A man once asked the Stoic philosopher, "What is freedom?" The answer was this: freedom is self-mastery. He who can say, "I am not controlled by anger, nor by fear, nor by pleasure, but only by the dictates of my reason and my purpose," is free indeed. So, practice each morning the sacred pause. Breathe, withdraw, observe, then declare, "I am the master of my emotions. They are servants of my will, never the rulers of my soul." The third habit, mental discipline through structured thought. The mind is the workshop of creation. It is the forge upon which the weapons of success are hammered into being. Every fortune began first as a thought, every empire as an idea, every revolution as a vision within the human mind. Yet most men treat their minds not as workshops, but as marketplaces crowded, noisy, filled with the clamor of other people's voices, polluted with every passing impulse and trivial distraction. In such a place, no great work can be produced. Discipline is the law of the workshop. Without discipline, thought dissipates. With discipline, thought crystallizes into reality. Consider this truth: the human mind will work for you or against you depending entirely on how you direct it. Leave it undisciplined, and it will wander into worry, into fear, into doubt, into endless speculation. Give it order, and it will channel its power toward achievement. The mind is like a river. Uncontrolled, it floods and destroys, but dammed and directed, it produces energy capable of lighting a city. Thus, the highly successful begin each morning by disciplining their thoughts. They do not leave the first hour of their day to chance. They know that what occupies the mind in the morning sets the rhythm of the entire day. If you rise and permit trivialities to enter gossip, headlines, complaints, distractions, you have poisoned the well before you have taken your first drink. But if you rise and direct your mind toward structured thought, affirmations of power, visualization of purpose, reflection on principle, then you have poured into the well water that sustains all greatness. The tool by which the mind is disciplined is autosuggestion. Autosuggestion is the act of impressing upon your subconscious mind the exact thoughts you wish to govern your life. It is the deliberate planting of seeds. If you do not plant deliberately, weeds of doubt and weakness will grow by default. The subconscious is obedient. It cannot distinguish between truth and lie, between strength and weakness. It will act upon whatever you feed it, whether it is poison or nourishment. Therefore, the successful individual feeds it with precision, with order, with discipline. He repeats to himself words that align with his purpose. I am calm, I am focused, I am disciplined, I am the master of my thoughts, I am destined to achieve my definite purpose. He speaks these words not as idle fantasy, but as commands to the most faithful servant ever given to man, his own subconscious mind. Over time, these commands become beliefs. Beliefs become actions. Actions become habits. Habits become destiny. This is the unbreakable chain of cause and effect. But discipline does not stop at affirmations. It extends to the very structure of thought. The man of discipline organizes his thinking as a general organizes his army. He does not permit every soldier to march in different directions. He sets formations, he defines objectives, he gives precise commands. He asks himself, what is the most important thought I can hold right now? What deserves my attention? What builds my purpose? All else is dismissed. He practices the law of focus, which states, that which you dwell upon expands, that which you neglect withers. If you dwell each morning on weakness, weakness expands. If you dwell on fear, fear grows. If you dwell on purpose, discipline, and success, these become the dominant forces of your life. And so, through structured thought, the successful man sculpts the very architecture of his destiny. Consider this analogy. The sculptor does not strike randomly at the stone. Every blow of his chisel is precise, guided by the image he holds in his mind. If he were careless, he would ruin the marble. But with vision and discipline, he transforms stone into statue, chaos into order, raw matter into masterpiece. So too with the mind. The undisciplined thinker strikes randomly, and his life becomes a ruin of wasted time and squandered power. But the disciplined thinker holds the image of his purpose, and every thought chisels away the unnecessary until only greatness remains. Mark this law. Thoughts are causes, circumstances are effects. If your circumstances are weak, it is because your thoughts have been undisciplined. If your circumstances are strong, it is because your thoughts have been disciplined. The world you see around you is the exact reflection of the world you have built within. Change the structure of your thought, and you change the structure of your life. This habit of mental discipline requires practice. It must be renewed daily, for the mind left unattended quickly reverts to chaos. Therefore, each morning is sacred. The successful do not squander it. They rise and they train the mind as one trains the body. They reject trivialities. They embrace affirmations. They visualize with clarity. They write with precision. They think deliberately. And in so doing, they bend the power of the universe to their command. The fourth habit, accurate thinking. Truth is the foundation of power. Without truth, there is no stability. Without stability, there can be no enduring success. Yet most men prefer illusion to truth. They cling to comforting lies. They indulge in wishful thinking. They blind themselves with the fog of emotion. They tell themselves they are capable without evidence. They imagine opportunities that do not exist. They exaggerate their virtues while ignoring their vices. Such men build their houses on sand, and when the storm comes, as it always does, their houses fall. But the masters of success practice the habit of accurate thinking. They separate fact from opinion, evidence from assumption, truth from fantasy. They do not deceive themselves. They ask, what is the reality of my situation? What is true beyond my feelings, beyond my hopes, beyond my fears? This honesty is their shield. It prevents them from wasting energy on illusions. It directs them toward the solid ground upon which real achievement is built. Accurate thinking is rare because it demands courage. It demands that a man look at his weaknesses without flinching. It demands that he face his failures without excuse. It demands that he see clearly where he stands, even if where he stands is far from where he wishes to be. But this courage is the very source of his power, for once he knows the truth, he can act upon it. Once he sees the reality, he can shape it. Once he acknowledges his weakness, he can discipline it into strength. The habit of accurate thinking is especially vital in the morning, for the way you interpret your reality at the start of the day determines how you approach the hours ahead. If you deceive yourself with fantasies, today will be easy, success will come without effort, I am already strong enough, you will walk into defeat unprepared. But if you tell yourself the truth, today will demand discipline, challenges await me, I must govern myself with precision. Then you will walk into the day armored, ready, and strong. The principle is simple. Illusion comforts, but truth empowers. Choose truth each morning. It may sting, but it will set you free. The fifth habit, commanding silence. The world is loud. It clamors for your attention from the moment you rise. The shouts of commerce, the gossip of the multitude, the endless hum of devices and demands, all of it fights to possess the throne of your mind. And most men, without knowing it, surrender at once. They reach for their distractions. They listen to the voices of others. They scatter their focus before they have gathered their own thoughts. They rise not as masters of the day, but as servants to noise. But the man of power, the man of discipline, the man of definiteness of purpose, he begins with silence. He commands it as a king commands his guard. He knows that silence is not emptiness, but fullness. It is not absence, but presence. In silence, the mind hears itself. In silence, the soul speaks. In silence, truth is revealed. Each morning, therefore, the successful man enters the sanctuary of quiet. He does not allow the world to intrude until he has first established his sovereignty over himself. He sits, he breathes, he reflects, he listens. In that stillness, he hears the voice of his own purpose more clearly than the voices of the world. In that stillness, he gathers his strength as a warrior gathers arms before battle. Silence is his fortress. Silence is his strategy. Silence is his shield. Mark this law. He who cannot command silence cannot command thought. And he who cannot command thought cannot command destiny. For without silence, thought becomes reaction. With silence, thought becomes creation. Without silence, the mind is tossed by every wind. With silence, it anchors itself in truth. Consider how nature reveals her wisdom. The seed does not grow in chaos, but in the quiet of soil. The sun does not roar, yet it sustains all life. The stars make no sound, yet they govern the seas. The greatest forces are silent forces. So too must you cultivate the silent force within you. Do not mistake silence for weakness. The lion does not roar before it strikes. It waits in silence, then moves with power. The disciplined man does not waste words in the morning. He builds strength in silence, then acts with precision. The undisciplined man wakes loud, restless, filled with noise, and all his power is scattered before the day begins. Silence is also the womb of intuition. Intuition, that subtle guide, that inner compass, that whisper of higher intelligence, speaks only in stillness. You cannot hear it in the clamor of distraction. You cannot hear it in the rush of worry. You cannot hear it in the babble of others. But in silence, it speaks clearly. This is the way. This is the step. This is the decision. Many men have ruined themselves by drowning out this voice with noise. The wise man hears it because he has learned to be still. Therefore, make silence a morning habit. Command it as you would command soldiers. Let no voice, no demand, no noise invade your mind until you have first stood in silence and claimed your power. In that stillness, affirm your purpose. In that stillness, discipline your emotions. In that stillness, direct your thoughts. And only then, when you are master of yourself, open your ears to the world. The sixth habit, physical discipline. The body is the instrument of the mind. To ignore it is folly. For how can a dull blade cut? How can a broken bow shoot? How can a frail instrument play the music of mastery? The undisciplined body is a drag upon the will. It grows sluggish, it grows weak, it betrays the mind when the mind demands strength, and many a man of great ideas has failed because his body could not carry the weight of his ambition. But the successful individual begins each morning with physical discipline. He rises early, he breathes deeply, he moves with vigor, he trains the flesh to obey the command of the will, he treats the body not as master, but as servant, a faithful instrument tuned to perfection. Mark this truth. The body will either serve you or enslave you. If you indulge it in idleness, it will weaken you. If you indulge it in excess, it will betray you. But if you discipline it through exercise, through restraint, through command, it will become a vehicle of power. It will carry the mind further, longer, stronger. Physical discipline is not vanity. It is sovereignty. It is the daily reminder that you, not appetite, are in control. The man who cannot govern his own body cannot govern his destiny. To rise early when comfort whispers, sleep, is an act of mastery. To move with strength when laziness tempts with rest is an act of sovereignty. To train the body into resilience is to forge the will into iron. The ancients knew this law. The warrior trained not only his sword but his body, for he knew that weakness of flesh is weakness of spirit. The philosopher walked, breathed, exercised, for he knew that clarity of thought requires vitality of form. The successful man of today must learn the same. To begin the morning with movement, with discipline, with mastery of the body is to announce to the day, I am in command. I will not be ruled by weakness. I will not be conquered by indulgence. I am master here. Cause and effect cannot be denied. If you discipline the body each morning, the mind grows sharp, the will grows firm, the spirit grows bold. If you neglect the body, the mind dulls, the will falters, the spirit surrenders. Choose wisely, for your body is the instrument upon which the symphony of your destiny will be played. The seventh habit, initiative. Discipline, purpose, silence, accurate thought, all are wasted if not converted into action. The morning is not complete until decision becomes movement, until will becomes deed. The successful individual does not linger in hesitation. He does not wait for permission. He does not postpone until conditions are perfect. He begins, he acts, he takes initiative. Mark this law. Procrastination is the thief of power. Initiative is its crown. To delay is to betray yourself. To hesitate is to surrender the advantage. The world belongs not to those who wait, but to those who move. Every empire began with initiative. Every fortune began with a first step. Every revolution began with action taken before certainty was guaranteed. Each morning, therefore, the successful man asks, what decisive act shall I take today to advance my purpose? And he does it. He does not wait until noon, until evening, until tomorrow. He begins while others plan. He strikes while others hesitate. He builds while others dream. Initiative is courage in motion. It is faith expressed in deed. It is purpose made flesh. Without it, all other habits remain potential. With it, all other habits become power. Do not forget, the morning is not merely a time to prepare, it is a time to begin. The man who begins boldly in the morning builds momentum that carries him through the day. The man who hesitates in the morning spends the day catching up to his own weakness. Therefore, make initiative your closing habit. Seal your morning discipline with action. Send the message, make the call, write the plan, take the step. Do something that affirms, I am not a dreamer only, I am a doer. I am not a thinker only, I am a mover. I am not a servant of chance. I am the author of destiny. Now the 7 habits stand before you. Definiteness of purpose, emotional detachment, mental discipline, accurate thinking, commanding silence, physical discipline, and initiative. They are not suggestions. They are laws. They are not routines. They are weapons. Practice them each morning, and you will rise above the mass of men who drift, react, and surrender their lives to chance. Neglect them, and you will remain among the multitude, busy, distracted, weak, and forgotten. Each dawn is a summons. Each sunrise is a challenge. Each morning asks you the question upon which your destiny depends. Will you govern yourself today, or will you be governed? If you rise with purpose, discipline, silence, truth, and initiative, you will rule. If you rise with weakness, distraction, and delay, you will serve. Success is not a mystery. It is law. It is cause and effect. Govern your inner world, and the outer world bends to your command. Fail to govern yourself, and the outer world will govern you. The choice is yours, and yours alone. So when you rise tomorrow morning, remember this. Greatness begins before the world is awake. Power is seized before the noise begins. Destiny is shaped in the silence of dawn. Stand therefore and declare with the authority of a sovereign. This is my purpose, this is my mind, this is my will, this is my day. I shall not be moved, I shall not be ruled. I am the master of myself, and by mastering myself, I shall master my destiny. And now I tell you, With the authority of every law of success that has ever ruled the world, there will come a morning when you stand before yourself and realize that no enemy outside you was ever as dangerous as the enemy within. No man who doubted you, no rival who envied you, no circumstance that tested you was ever your true opposition. The only adversary worth conquering has always been your own undisciplined mind, your own emotional slavery, your own hesitation to seize what is already yours. And the moment you grasp this truth, the chains fall away. The prison of weakness shatters. You stand as master. Think of this. Kingdoms have fallen, empires have crumbled, fortunes have vanished, but the man who has mastered himself cannot be defeated. You may strip him of wealth, he will build again. You may remove him from power, he will rise again. You may cast him into obscurity, and from obscurity he will carve greatness anew. For his power does not rest in circumstance, but in the fortress of his mind. And that fortress is forged each morning by the habits we have spoken. Definiteness of purpose is your fire. Emotional detachment is your shield. Mental discipline is your sword. Accurate thought is your map. Silence is your fortress. Physical discipline is your armor. Initiative is your march. With these you cannot be conquered. With these you cannot be broken. With these you rise to heights that terrify the weak and inspire the strong. Mark this moment well. The world is waiting for men and women who will seize themselves with both hands and say, I will not drift, I will not bow, I will not surrender to weakness. I will master myself, and by that mastery I will master all. The world bows to the man who bows to nothing within himself but his own will. And when you rise tomorrow, know this. The morning is not merely the beginning of another day, it is the battlefield where your destiny is decided. Rise careless, and you are defeated before you begin. Rise with purpose, discipline, silence, truth, and initiative, and you have already won before the world has awakened. So I charge you now, live not as one of the many who wait, who hope, who drift. Live as one of the few who act, who decide, who command. Live as the sovereign of yourself. Let every dawn hear your declaration. Let every sunrise see your discipline. Let every morning bear witness to the unshakable truth that you are not a servant of chance, but the architect of destiny. And when your life is complete, when your story is told, let it be said of you, here was one who mastered himself. And because he mastered himself, he mastered life. Now go and begin.